I'm here with Jan Guerrero, and we're here today to talk about his choices with.
My vegetarian diet, yes.
Yes.
That'd be good. My vegetarian lifestyle.
Jan, tell me how you first came to practice the vegetarian and quasi-vegan, as I understand it.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegan. The vegan is very strict. And frankly, I'm really just a pragmatic human being. And I'm not so much philosophically or even nutritionally savant, meaning I'm not a master of the food I eat. I'm only the master of the food of my life and the way I cook it. I won't cook it for other people, and so forth and so on. Anyway, so when how I got into the vegetarian world is simply that my father, my stepfather, my blood father died of arteriosclerosis, and this was in Denmark. So Denmark is a big dairy country, and but you know there are all kinds of theories, butter's good, and so forth and so on. So I'm not even going to quibble with it. All it was that I draw the conclusion: I don't want to die that way, and whether I use faulty or real conclusions to what causes arteriosclerosis or not doesn't matter. I stopped eating meat at that moment. I was still eating fish and some dairy products like, well, I don't know what, some cheese anyway, but cautiously. And it wasn't until about 10 or 20 years later that I dropped out eggs and cheese in general and milk even, or opting for vegetable-based milk products like soy. Or, well, at that time, oat milk did not exist, but soy was a good substitute, in my opinion. Since beans is a huge part of my life, by the way, this is one thing I looked up in Google, is that there are 400 different varieties of beans. There are 15 different species. That's the only thing I'm going to remember for this this interview, I guess you would call it.
And since beans are a big part of your diet, how many varieties do you generally consume, or do you have just a few favorites that you stick with?
No, I have a few favorites. Black beans and red kidney beans, and I think there are even white kidney beans and aduki beans.
I'm assuming you buy them dry, right?
No,
Oh, you don't?
I do not. I buy them out of cans. I'm
Okay.
not into that level of what's it called, perfectionist. I buy it right out of cans. I'm not going to spend time cooking beans like that. There's only one thing that I cook that I think is reliable. I mean, that is worthy of being cooked, is McCann's oatmeal, steel cut from the beginning. It's a 30-minute process, and I do 10-10-5-5 to get to 30.
So you started eating a primarily vegetarian diet because of your dad passing away.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, though, or even when you made that decision, beyond a net gain to you, was there let's say a moral component to it, or a spiritual component to it?
That's an interesting question. Moral, no. But, well, you might say it is moral in some ways, but I would think it's more scientific in the sense of biological kinship that I feel for animals. They're like me. They've got kidneys, they got intestines, they got brains, however small or large. Their bodies are, and so forth and so on. We are all animals. And I do not like to kill them nor eat them. Although plants, you know, they're live things too, but they are a species, if you can call it that way, that's very far from what I am as a human being or as an animal that breathes. Well, even plants breathe, frankly. I don't know. I gotta eat something. I don't have a scientific explanation for it. Plants don't seem to mind being consumed. In fact, every time I buy and cook, well, actually, I steam when it comes to spinach. I almost think that the spinach is saying, thank you. I'm doing my job. That's the spinach talking to me. I'm giving you good nutrients.
talk to me about some other components of your diet, the varieties of greens and grains and so on and so forth.
Well, what comes to mind, which may not be the answer to your question, is that I do cook food, or primarily, as I say, vegetables, in 3 different ways. I consume them, I prepare them in 3 different ways. I stew them, I steam them, and I eat them raw. And by the way, there's one thing I wanted to mention that just in passing, I also every year have a juice fast. And this is where I consume, well, actually both cooked and raw vegetables. In terms of the raw, I extract them. I have a Cuisinart that is pretty good, but it only takes hard type of foods like carrots or beets or celery and apples. And I also have a boiling method in which I put, like, God knows, 5 pounds of all greens, collard greens, spinach, beets, potatoes, onions, into a big pot and cook it for about an hour. And then I throw all the food away except for the broth. I only consume in this juice diet the broth.
And you do that once a year for how long?
I do it once a year for about a week to 10 days. I mean, actually, I tell you the truth, that when I finally get to the 7th day, I say I can go on forever. It's hard to get into, but it's likewise it's hard to get out of, because I kind of feel good. I feel light for one thing, and my body is able to bend more. So it's an unusual, not just lightness, but also joints feel, anyway, whatever it is. I do stop at 7 because it's a bother, because I still have to prepare the damn stuff.
What kind of drinks do you generally avail yourself of?
All right. Well, in the mornings, I'm a creature of habit. I do prepare green tea and a glass of warm water with ginseng powder in it. I don't prepare the green tea once that day. I cook enough for 5 days. All I do is to heat it up. And that's how I usually start my day, with those 2 drinks. Besides water first, of course, just plain old Brita filtered water, although we're supposed to have real good water in New York. But I still prefer to filter it with Brita.
Do you eat any fish anymore, ever?
No. Well, all right. I guess I got to admit, I mean, I can't hide my world from you. Yes, no, I do stray. I buy salmon in a can. You see the whole fucking fish in the little can. Like, it costs like $3.50. It's got the skin and the bones and all. So it's good nutrition in my mind. But I still have a can up there that's been sitting there for 3 months. So I don't really do it very often. The other thing that I do, but I don't really call it stray. Like I say, I'm not a perfectionist. I do eat goat milk, and I favor feta from Greece. If I can find it, I want to afford it. I mean, some imported agricultural products are more, I think, more reliable than some American, which is more commercially oriented, American food products. Even though America, I think, is one of the largest agricultural exporters in the world. But anyway, so let me just, let's see, what was I on? So, yes, I said, and the goat cheese that I like is made in France. And the feta cheese. And pre-cooked beets and pre-cooked lentils, also from France, are superior. You just take them out of their vacuum-packed package and you eat them as they are. And there's one final thing about, what the hell was that? Oh yeah, Italian olives with pits inside. I think that some olives lose their nutritional value without the pit, just like apples lose nutritional value if you cut off the skin. And I don't have scrape my, excuse the expression, my fucking organic carrots. I don't scrape them.
Right.
I eat them like they are. And of course, potatoes, never cut the skin off. Sweet potatoes, never cut the skin off.
So, you've been eating a vegetarian diet for 50 years?
I would say
Roughly?
so. Yes, yes.
50 years. And what kind of benefits have you seen from that? And I mean, maybe being 90 is one of them.
I'm not a perfectionist, and I'm not a scientist, so I cannot compare what I would be like if I ate a normal diet and what I do as a vegetarian. You know, I would only be speculating, or I would be telling a tale. All I'm saying is that, well, I guess like you suggested, being relatively healthy at 90 is the result of a primarily vegetarian diet. Of course, I also use, by the way, I know this is controversial, supplements. Now, you know, I as a layman, a civilian, I'm not a nutritionist, not a laboratory nutritionist, I cannot evaluate really what the effect of is before and after I take one vitamin or another. I'm taking at least 7 different vitamin supplements that are recommended by whether it's a doctor or, well, or friends or whatever. And they are C and D and multiple this and I don't know, there's some things about the heart or the bones and stuff and the omega-3 and stuff. So I can't say I believe in it, but I use it. And see, that was one of the point that, okay, so that's it on the supplements that are part of my diet. I mean, it's just you're living in an urban environment. You know, you're not near the air of country of leaves and trees, even though I live a block away from Central Park. But there's the smell of dung from cows. There's the fresh vegetables that are sitting in your room that give off energy. So I'm living in an urban environment. All food is delivered to me in trucks and God knows what, or airplanes and boats. So supplements, I think, is an important thing. Yeah.
I think we're good, I mean, for this segment. I mean, so far. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to give you 2 clips out of it.
Hi, so here I am in the production side of my kitchen. Like I said before, I'm not a kitchen freak. I just like to keep it simple. And of course, all of these are familiar vegetables. Celery, it's a wonderful food. Wow. I buy from Trader Joe's, and I buy from Whole Foods. Both of those are great companies. What we got here? Oh, look at that. Trader Joe's organic baby spinach.
I have to interrupt you for a second. You're way too much with your back to the camera. Pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so I was saying about Trader Joe's. Quite a company. Look at what I got here. Dried wild blueberries. They taste better than fresh blueberries. I don't know why. I think there are ways of packing and processing certain types of foods that keep more of the nutrients. And frankly, I wouldn't cook my own beets, as I said earlier. I wouldn't cook my own beans because I don't know how to cook it right. And I don't want to learn because I just want to, I mean, here we got kidney. Here we got black bean. Anyway, and one of my favorite foods, by the way, is, well, this is the Whole Foods peanut butter thing. I was telling you about this fish that I sometimes, every 3 months, I eat a can of fish like this. Alaska, wild Alaska pink olive. And this is from Whole Foods. That's right across the street from me. All right. Anyway, there you see the stuff. I mean, mushrooms are part of my diet. This is from Trader Joe's. I happened to have been there yesterday. And another of my favorite foods from Korea is roasted seaweed. I like to eat a couple of leaves of these every single day.
It's like the roasted seaweeds, for example. Like there's some nutritional value that you get out of that beyond it tasting good to you. Oh.
It's not fish. It's actually seaweed. You know, it's a plant that grows in the oceans. Whether they're cultivated or whether they're raw, it's a nutrient-rich thing.
Right. Okay. You have some more things you want to show us?
This is my nut cruncher. This I sometimes use to make blended foods. It's good. And over here, my stovetop is my favorite pot. It's called Magnolite. I've had this for 60 years. In my first marriage, I got the pots. She got the glasses. And I have this in 3 different sizes. And then when I do my juice fast, I've got a huge one like that. You know, where I put in 5 pounds of greens and boil them and drink only the broth. Okay. All right. So, well, as I say, I have kinship with Scandinavia. That's where I was born. And also kinship with Europe, because that's where I've lived 20 years of my life. Both partly as an adult and as a teenager in Denmark. And let me show you 3 things here. They come from Norway. These are real steel. Beautiful design. You know why these holes are in there? Because I can clip yellow pads into these, or blue pads, or red pads. An American-Italian family created these things here. I have them in many different sizes, and there is the pan there. I'm telling you, there's a lot for America to learn in Europe, just so that you know that. And you know, the one mentality that's so frequent in America is sell, 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 you know, and make it commercially efficient and stuff like that, so they get the product out at the cheapest price. But aesthetics sometimes is faulty, or is whatever you call it, missing, and other aspects, I think, of the aesthetics of eating or living or whatever is sometimes sacrificed in American mentality.
Tell me a little bit about nutritional value of seeds.
Again, I can't tell you the nutritional value of anything that I eat. All I know is that seeds were always a nutritional part, whether for 30,000 years or 50,000 years. Whether you were a monkey, or an orangutan, or a gorilla, or a Neanderthal, or whether you were Homo erectus, seeds, seeds, seeds. Trader Joe's, pumpkin seeds. Trader Joe's, sunflower seeds. And another thing that I forgot to mention is that figs and dates and these type of fruits are important, besides pears and apples and bananas that that are good to look at. These are not necessarily that good to look at, but I think they're nutritionally strong. So much sun is involved in those Middle Eastern countries that produce those products. These are very ordinary things. I'm an old person, as you know, so I have to take medications. And I made a little bit of mistake when I set up for this photo shoot. I cleaned it up so it looks a little cleaner. I should have left all the human things around. But one of the things that I obviously don't want to advertise, this is morning and this is evening, and there's about 3 medications in each of these. And that's, I can't say that it's the food that's keeping me alive. I'm telling you, medications are important in that as well. My heart is old, my lungs are old, and my head is old. So, by the way, since my head is old, one of the things that I like for my head is smoking marijuana. But I'm actually 4 months without a single smoke, which is fairly unusual because I've smoked marijuana for 50 years.
I'm out of questions.
All right, well, thank you.